Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Tom's Gadget Garage. Today I am especially excited because I'm going to be talking about the newly released Lectric XP4, which is the successor to the very first e-bike I ever purchased, the Lectric XP 3.0. And folks, I'm going to tell you right now that Lectric XP 3.0 greatly shrunk the world around me and allowed me to explore places within my own community that I didn't even know existed before that bike. It also afforded me the ability to go on many adventures, including riding up some of the highest peaks in the Phoenix metro area, running errands around town, which I would have otherwise done in my car. I went on all day long multi-city adventures throughout the valley, and I even took this bike out on some trail rides that I greatly underestimated, but the bike came out with flying colors. So when Lectric reached out to me asking if I would join them as well as a bunch of other folks at their media day event, I had a sneaking suspicion that maybe, just maybe, this would be the successor to the 3.0. It was either that or maybe a refresh version of their trike, and I'm glad I went because it was at that event that they announced the XP4. And it's kind of a bittersweet moment because we're seeing the XP 3.0 on its way out, but I'll tell you right now that XP4 retains the same adventurous spirit of its predecessor. And folks, this bike also includes a bunch of features that the Lectric community has been asking for a long time. And some way, somehow, Lectric has been able to maintain that same sub-$1,000 starting point, which I don't know how they did it, but that's the starting price, under $1,000. So what I'm going to do today is run you through some of the features of this bike, including the multiple battery and motor variations. And yes, folks, you heard that right. This thing is going to come with two different motors, so you can basically choose what you want based on your preference. They've also got a bunch of different colors now, which has been a huge ask from the community for a long time. So take a look at the link below if you want to get an idea of what some of those colors are going to be. But we're also going to go ahead and take a look at the folding mechanism, the top speed of this bike. We'll take it on some hill climbs, ride it on some trails, see how that suspension does, and then test out all the different drive modes, take a look at the screen, the menu system, the whole 9 yards. And at the end of it, I'll take you through some beautiful views of the Grand Canyon, and then I will circle back with my thoughts on this bike and whether I think it is a worthy successor of the XP 3.0. Now at the end of this, if you want to pick up one of these bikes, I will include an affiliate link in the description below, and if you use that to make your purchase, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. Without further delay, let's jump into the details. All right, folks, so there's the Lectric XP4 in all of its glory. This is the step over version, but they also make a step through frame. Starting at the rear of the bike, we do have this newly designed rear rack, which, get this, has the same 150-pound carrying capacity as the XP 3.0, which makes it one of the highest carrying capacity folding e-bikes on the market. Just below the rear rack is our polypropylene, aka plastic fenders, which do a really good job at, dampening some of the rocks and gravel that might get kicked up into those fenders as you're riding. Here at the rear, we do have our brake light, tail light, and turn signal combo. For the tires, we do have these Lectric 20-inch by 3-inch fat tires, which do have a mixed terrain tread to them, which should make for a much quieter ride. In true Lectric fashion, we have our hydraulic disc brakes both in the rear and the front, and these rotors are 180 millimeters, and get this, they're 28% thicker on the XP4 compared to the XP 3.0, which should make for even better stopping power. At the hub of the rear wheel, we do have our M24 750 nominal watt motor, which can crank out 1,310 peak watts of power, as well as 85 Newton meters of torque. One of the great things that they've done with the XP4 is they're offering it in two motor variants, a 500 nominal watt motor as well as a 750 nominal watt motor. So if you want that more relaxed ride that you got on the XP 3.0, 500 nominal watt motor is more than sufficient. You can check out some of the videos that I did on that 3.0 in the description below. But if you wanted to up the ante a little bit, get a little more power, get a little more throttle response, the 750 nominal watt motor might be the right one for you. In terms of our shifting, we do have a Shimano Altus derailleur, which is an upgrade over the tourney that we saw in the XP 3.0. We've also got an 1132 freewheel in the rear, as well as a 56-tooth chainring. And in case you drop your bike, you don't have to worry about damage to your rear derailleur because we do have a derailleur guard pre-installed. We've got aluminum pedals with really nice studs. That way you don't lose your grip, and that's one of the things that I immediately noticed riding around on this bike is that my feet were very well planted on these pedals. And guess what? These things are also quick release, which is going to allow you to fold this bike into an even smaller form factor than the XP 3.0. We've got our standard electric saddle with a suspension seat post, which should go a long ways in making this ride as comfortable as possible when riding off the beaten path. This is our quick release for the seat post, and here we've got a handle and frame support. And what I like about this is it's very well balanced, so you can pick up this bike by this handle and not have to worry about the center of gravity being off. This is our folding mechanism for this bike, which is very similar to what we see on the XP 3.0. And one of the big differences with the XP4 is that they have actually increased the size of the down tube. So the standard battery on here is a 10.4 amp hour battery, but with the larger down tube, you can actually fit a 17.5 amp hour battery in here, which is going to extend out your range significantly. On the top of the down tube, we do have some mounting points here for a water bottle holder or a plethora of other accessories. And just below that, we have another mounting position, which here you can see is being used for the electric lock. Moving our way forward, there's our other 20-inch by 3-inch fat tire with that nice medium terrain tread. That way it's not so loud compared to a lot of the hybrid or knobby tread that you see on other bikes. And then here we've got our suspension, which does have a lockout as well as preload adjustment. That way you can adjust things to your liking. And there's our adjustment for the preload. At the front, we do have some mounting points for a front basket. And as you can see here on the 750 watt motor version, we do have the Elite headlight with the reflector. Front plastic fender, 180 millimeter hydraulic disc brakes, our folding mechanism for the stem, as well as the quick release for the stem height adjustment, which is really nice because this bike here will accommodate riders of various heights. Working our way up to the cockpit, we do have our locking grips. That way these things don't twist around on you. We've also got our Star Union 602 hydraulic brake levers, which do have a very nice pull to them. Just in front of that, we do have our bell, which sounds like this. And then, of course, one of the stars of the show is our trigger style 8-speed gear shift, which is really nice. It's a heck of a lot more ergonomic than the other one that we saw on the XP 3.0. Here at the center, we do have our upgraded display. We get a battery bar, battery percentage, our speed, as well as a readout of what levels of pedal assist we're in. So with this particular bike, it's got off, eco, tour, sport, Sport Plus, and Turbo, so 5 levels of pedal assist. If I hit the power button, it's going to give us a detailed stats overview. So you'll see your cadence, trip time, trip distance, your odometer, input power, motor power, amps, voltage, basically all the information you need. And what I love about these bikes is they include a voltmeter. There are so many bikes that don't, which really makes it hard to know how much battery you've got remaining in the bike, so kudos to Lectric for doing that. Here on the left-hand side of the bike, we do have our upgraded control pad, the same one we see on the XPedition 2.0. We've got our plus and minus button for adjusting the levels of pedal assist. We've got our left and right turn signals, our power button, and if you hold the plus and minus button simultaneously, it's actually going to take you into, look at this, an actual plain English user-readable display. No more P settings. You can come in here and adjust these and not have to carry around your instruction manual trying to figure out which P setting you need to change. Just below our control pad, we do have our under-the-bar thumb throttle, and then behind that we do have our 602 Star Union hydraulic brake levers, and then our left locking grip. Another one of the big changes for the XP4 is the addition of a torque sensor, so no more cadence sensor. And I'll tell you right now, Lectric has done a really good job at fine-tuning this torque sensor, but we'll definitely test that out on our first impressions ride. Here we've got our key, and they've conveniently moved the location of the key slot. It's no longer buried under a nest of wires under the bottom. It's on the side. And then, of course, we've got our charging port with an on and off switch, which is a really nice addition. Another major change with this display is it is detachable, and it does have a USB-C port at the bottom for charging up your devices. But the nice thing about having a detachable screen is it serves as a kind of a security feature of sorts. If you do park this at the grocery store or somewhere in public, you lock up your bike, you can take your display with you. That way it disables the bike. All right, folks, now if you're curious how to fold this bike up, it's actually pretty simple. You've got a latch here. You lift up this little silver lever and you can pull this down. That will release your handlebars, which you can then fold down like this. Just want to make sure your bike is off so you don't accidentally hit that throttle. I'm not saying I've ever done that, but just be careful. Coming over here on this side, you will see we've got another latch, so you can go ahead and undo that. The pedals are removable. It will fold in this direction. So if you want to remove the pedal, these are quick release. So you just pull on this and then you can release the pedal like this. Super easy. It's going to allow this to fold down even tighter than the XP 3.0. Now once you have that pedal off, you can go ahead, lift the kickstand in the up position, and then just give it a nice little fold. And as you can see, our XP4 is officially in its folded position, and it does get rather compact. This here can come in a little bit closer, and then now you can lift this and throw it in the back of your SUV, throw it across the seats of your sedan, or throw it into your RV and head off onto your next adventure. Now, if you're curious how to get the battery out of this bike, you simply insert the key into the key slot, give it a good twist, and then remove the key. And once removed, you can actually pull this battery out like so, and there you go. There's our 17.5 amp hour battery on the XP4. Now these here are pre-production units, so I'm not seeing any kind of foam padding in here. So once I get my hands on this bike, I'll put some felt on either side. That way it slides in a little more firm and we get less of that bouncing around in the frame. And to reinsert the battery, you just do the opposite. You get it in there, push it firmly into place, and then you can take your key and lock the battery into the frame of the bike. Just keep in mind, if you're folding this bike, make sure the key is out of there. That way you don't scratch up your paint. And also when you're removing the battery, you just want to make sure it's kind of unfolded a little bit. That way you can get your key in there and get it turned so you can remove the battery. All right, folks, so getting us started on our first impressions right here. We're cruising around in tour mode. Now, by default, this bike does come in Class 2 e-bike mode, which is a top speed in both pedal assist and throttle of 20 miles an hour. However, if you want to unlock it to Class 3 mode for that full 28 miles an hour in pedal assist, you can absolutely do that. Just know that throttle speed will still be capped at the 20 miles an hour. In tour mode, I'm going to bump us up to Sport Plus. A little bit of bumpy stuff in the road there. Suspension definitely helps absorb that. Same with the suspension seat post. But as you can see right now, we're cruising 26 miles an hour. No problem at all. Let's go ahead and test out these brakes. Oh yeah, plenty of stopping power. That's an absolute must, especially if you're going to be driving around in places with lots of hills and things like that. Having good brakes goes a long way in providing for a very confidence-inspiring ride. Go ahead and pedal out in Sport Plus. All right, let's try turbo mode out. See how quick we can get going. I'm seeing 28 on the screen. We'll see what GPS says when I overlay it a little bit later. But yeah, no problem at all getting up to top speed, and it does so in a hurry. Now, in case I didn't mention it, this is the 750 watt motor of this bike. So that's good for 85 Newton meters of torque, which is the same M24 stealth motor that we see on the Lectric XPeak as well as the Lectric XPedition 2.0. But here with this bike, it's on a much smaller and lighter frame. From a stop, we're going to test out the throttle, and we're going to do so in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, we got a slight incline that we're going up right now. We're picking up speed. Okay, 17 miles an hour, 19, showing 20 miles an hour, and that's where it caps out, both in Class 2 and Class 3 e-bike mode. Something that you immediately notice when riding this bike is that it's got a very well-tuned torque sensor. So right now, I'm pedaling, and it's very responsive to the pressure that I put to the pedals with almost no noticeable delay. And so I really like that. Lectric has gone to kind of great lengths. I mean, this is the 4th generation of the torque sensor that they're using on here, and they fine-tuned it. So even though it's a pressure-based system and relies on you putting in the effort to get it going, it's actually a very relaxing ride, and I would say more so than the XP 3.0. Now, if you follow my channel for a while, you'll know that I've covered the XP 3.0 in incredible detail. I've made 18 videos on that bike. I'll be doing the exact same thing with this XP4. All right, we're gonna go ahead and head on over to the lodge. You know what, we're gonna do this hill climb. This here is a very steep incline. I don't know if you can see it. Oh yeah, torque sensor for the win in turbo mode. Cruising up here, no problem at all. I'll go ahead and get us turned around and we'll head back down that decline. All right, this is going to be a good opportunity to test out these hydraulic brakes, the 602s, which is the Phoenix area code, by the way. They have these things custom made for electric bikes. Here's our brakes. More than enough stopping power. Head on over this grate. Suspension soaks that right up. Nothing like fresh mountain air. You can smell these. I don't know if these are pine trees. I don't know what kind of trees these are, I'll be honest with you, but they smell fantastic. All right, folks, so testing out the different drive modes here. We're in eco right now, pedaling about 10 miles an hour. If I bump it up into tour mode, it'll up our speed a little bit. Looks like we're cruising around at about 14 miles an hour or so. We go into sport. You definitely feel that power kick in. Little train track crossing there, front suspension does a decent job of eating that up. Now, one of the things I'm liking about this XP4 is the fact that it's a very nimble ride. You know, these torque sensors, the harder you pedal, the more output you're going to get from the bike, which is exactly why I say it gives these things a much more natural ride feel. Whereas the cadence sensor, a lot of times it's more like an on and off switch. And so I like both types of bikes, but you know, with these newer torque sensors, they're very smooth, very easy to operate. And so if you want a relaxing ride, you can get it. If you want to put in a little more effort, you can absolutely do that as well. Get yourself a little workout in. Coming through these curves, no problem at all. And very stable so far. There we go. Ease on through here. And the pickup on this bike is incredible. I mean, we're in sport mode. If I go into Sport Plus, we'll even get more power output. But for this kind of riding, sport's more than sufficient. You know, I don't know how well you can hear it on the microphone, but when I was doing all my videos on the XP 3.0, one thing you can hear when riding on these kind of surfaces is the drone of those knobby tires. With this mixed tread surface that they've got for the tires, it's absolutely fantastic. Now, in terms of the suspension on this bike, it is very reminiscent of that on the XP 3.0. I've tested several other electric e-bikes on this channel, including the XPeak 2.0, which has got the Renegade RST front fork, as well as the XPedition 2.0, which has got the Courier 50 front fork. And I would say those are definitely a step above what you get on this XP4, but I would say that this does as good a job, if not a little bit better than the XP 3.0 in absorbing a lot of these bumps in the road. Looks like we got some light trails over here that we'll be able to test out the suspension on with this XP4. Go ahead and cruise on through here. And here's a little trail we can cruise around on. We are currently in sport mode, and this is a mix of hard-packed dirt, gravel, rocks, pine cones, pine needles, the whole 9 yards. Let's go over these rocks, see how it is. Oh yeah, right up and over that. Here's a little more. You can kind of hear that lock bouncing around there. We'll come through this little pine needle section here. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy about the XP series of bikes, is that they're great all-around bikes. So if you've got some, you know, hard-packed trails, hard-packed dirt to cruise around on, this is the perfect bike to do it. Now, with that being said, I do not recommend taking this on any kind of single tracks or anything like that. That's a little crazy. You know, I took the XP 3.0, I'll put a link to that video in the description below. I took that on a trail ride just to test out, you know, how strong that frame is. And how it does, and that did fantastic, and I'm assuming this is going to do just as well. We'll come through here. Oh yeah, very nimble bike, very inspiring ride. And what I especially like is the fact that the power is pretty much instantaneous. You know, there's very little, almost no delay with the activation of the motor from that torque sensor. So I like to see that, because sometimes with torque sensors you have a delay and you're there, you know, pedaling, and it just takes a half second or a full second to kick in. I like more immediate reaction with the torque sensors on the bikes that I test out, and this definitely fits the bill. You know, so far we've been racking up the miles. Let's see, 17 miles so far on this ride today, and it's showing 70% battery remaining. So if that's accurate, that's pretty impressive. Use our throttle to get us going, because I'm absolutely in the wrong gear. That's one thing I love about throttles on bikes. Picking up some speed. We're in turbo mode. A little bit of an incline here. And no ghost pedaling yet. Pedal a little bit harder. 26 miles an hour uphill. And no ghost pedaling at all whatsoever. So all the way up to 28 miles an hour, like we did earlier, I don't think you're gonna have any issues at all whatsoever with ghost pedaling. So this 56 tooth chainring is fantastic. So I'm gonna tell you right now, between that super steep incline we did earlier, as well as that gradual incline that we just were riding on a moment ago, I don't think you're gonna have any issues at all whatsoever climbing pretty much any hill you might have on your regular rides. All right, Grand Canyon Visitor Center. We'll go ahead and hook a left, and maybe we'll finish off our ride with some nice views of the Grand Canyon. Now, you can't ride e-bikes on the trails that go along the south rim here, so I'll have to walk the bike there and we'll take a look at the views. All right, Canyon Rim, I think we're here. All right, folks, so this was quite the hike from the visitor center to the rim, pushing this bike, but the rim is straight ahead. All right, folks, as you can see, Grand Canyon, absolutely beautiful. I'm not gonna get any closer because it is a sheer drop-off point after these rocks. If you've never been to the Grand Canyon, folks, I'll tell you what, it is breathtaking. And I'm not out of breath just because, you know, I pushed my bike up here, you know, it's truly taking my breath away. I'm gonna go ahead and get us turned around. We'll take a look at the view from this side. Lots of people from all over the world out here today. Another beautiful view. You can see the people out there on the lookout. I mean, look at that. Absolutely incredible. I mean, look at the drop off here, folks. All right, folks, so there you have it. That was our sneak preview of the Lectric XP4. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I am thoroughly impressed with this bike. The upgrades that they made are huge, you know, and their preview price that they're mentioning is $999 for the 10.4 amp hour battery and $1,299 for the 17.5 amp hour battery with the 750 watt motor. But overall performance is on point. That torque sensor is a huge improvement over their already really good torque sensor. So you have on-demand power delivery whenever you need it. Another thing to mention is that the tires and the motor on this bike are very quiet, so you don't have to worry about the droning of those tires or motor when you're cruising around, which makes for a nice silent ride. Another huge upgrade that I'm a big fan of is going to be that LCD display, or I should say the TFT display. It's got a ton of information on there, and most importantly, it's the information that you need for your everyday riding, and they've got it displayed in a way that you have everything in a single place. So kudos to Lectric on their new display. Some things that I think are important to call out. The key location is on the side, which I think is a huge, you know, +1 on that. You no longer have to worry about fiddling around with the key at the bottom of the bike frame, trying to find where to insert it. But just keep in mind with the placement on the side, when you fold the bike, it is possible to bump up against that key. And the positioning also makes it a little bit of a challenge to get in there, turn the key to remove the battery. So just keep that in mind. Some of the knocking around that you heard in the video came from the lock as well as the battery. So these are the pre-production units. The batteries didn't have the foam little sticky pads that they have in there to keep it from bouncing around. So if they do have those, I typically replace those anyways with some felt strips or the soft side of some Velcro. That way it's a more snug fit. The battery doesn't rocket out when you're trying to remove it, and you don't get into that kind of banging around. But other than that, very happy with this bike. It's definitely a calm, relaxing ride, but if you want it to be a little more aggressive, you can turn it into turbo mode and crank things up. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns. Happy to address those. I couldn't test everything out today, but I'll answer as many questions as you folks have. And if you do want to purchase one of these bikes, I will include an affiliate link in the description below. And if you use that link, it absolutely helps support this channel and keeps the wheels moving on future reviews. Now, stay tuned. I will be publishing a ton of content on this bike once it's released. And as always, thank you so much for tuning into Tom's Gadget Garage. We'll see you next time.